My coworker got me fired by claiming, "She's incompetent." And those two words echoed through the conference room while everyone stared at the table instead of at me. I packed my desk that afternoon without arguing. Because sometimes the loudest lie collapses under the weight of time. 6 months later, when the same project fell apart, my phone rang and the company offered me my job back with double the salary. I still remember carrying a cardboard box through the parking garage in downtown Minneapolis. My coffee had gone cold hours earlier. Inside the box sat a framed photo of my parents, a notebook filled with ideas I'd never get to finish, and a tiny baseball signed by my nephew after his Little League championship. Funny the things we choose to save. The security guard held the door open. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I smiled anyway. "So am I." The drive home felt endless. Every stoplight gave my thoughts another chance to replay the meeting. Claire's voice. Confident. "I've tried covering for Emily long enough. The delays, the mistakes. She's simply incompetent." Not angry. Not emotional. Convincing. That was the dangerous part. He sounded believable. Our department director barely looked at me before announcing that the company had lost confidence in my leadership on the largest software implementation we'd ever handled. No questions. No investigation. Only silence. That night I stood in my kitchen at 3 a.m, the refrigerator light spilling across the tile floor while late-night television mumbled from the living room. I wasn't hungry. I just couldn't stop opening and closing the refrigerator door as though answers might be hiding behind the milk. My mind kept returning to one memory. 3 months before everything happened, Claire had asked for copies of my project plans. "I just want to learn your system." I remembered laughing. Happy to share. I always believed knowledge should be shared. I never imagined she'd share something else. When I first joined the company 8 years earlier, I loved everything about it. The board meetings buzzed with ideas. People challenged each other respectfully. My managers praised preparation more than personality. It felt like home. Claire arrived 4 years later. Smart. Charismatic. Quick with compliments. We became friends. Or at least I believed we had. We grabbed coffee after work. Celebrated promotions. Talked about family. She even attended one of my nephew's Little League games because she wanted to see what all the excitement was about. Looking back now, trust leaves fingerprints everywhere. You only notice them after someone wipes the room clean. Finding another job wasn't easy. Every interview ended the same way. "We'll let you know." Some companies did. Most didn't. Savings slowly disappeared. Pride disappeared faster. Then something unexpected happened. A former client called. I heard what happened. I braced myself. Instead he said, "I don't believe it." Those 4 words nearly made me cry. He hired me as an independent consultant for a short-term project. Then another client followed. Then another. Word spread quietly. People who had actually worked with me remembered something the termination meeting had ignored. Results. Not rumors. Meanwhile, I occasionally heard updates from old coworkers. Claire had taken over my project. She received public recognition. Bonuses. More responsibility. Apparently the executives considered her the rising star. Good for her. I told myself. Even when I didn't entirely mean it. One rainy evening my former teammate Marcus called. "You sitting down?" "I am now. The implementation is falling apart." I stayed quiet. The budget's doubled. I still said nothing. Clients are threatening to leave. My heart sank. Not because I wanted the company to fail. Because dozens of good people still worked there. Marcus sighed. "They're blaming vendors. But everyone knows." Weeks later news continued trickling in. Missed deadlines. Software failures. Emergency board meetings. Outside consultants. Millions in additional costs. I remembered every warning I'd written into the original project plan. Testing schedule. Risk analysis. Backup procedures. Claire had removed most of them because they slowed momentum. Another dangerous word. At exactly 3:07 one morning my cell phone rang. Who calls at that hour? I almost ignored it. I answered. Emily. It was our former Sue. Well, current Sue. He sounded exhausted. "Can we meet?" The next afternoon I walked back into the same headquarters I'd left carrying that cardboard box. Everything looked familiar. Everything felt different. The receptionist smiled warmly. People I hadn't seen in months stopped to hug me. Nobody mentioned my firing. They didn't need to. The silence carried enough regret. Inside the executive conference room sat the CEO, 2 board members and human resources. No Claire. The CEO spoke first. We made a serious mistake. Simple words. Heavy words. He slid a thick binder toward me. Project audits. Independent reviews. Technical evaluations. Every expert had reached the same conclusion. The original project had been sound. The failures began only after major changes were made following my departure. Then came the twist. The CEO opened another folder. We also completed an internal investigation. He handed me printed emails. Claire hadn't merely criticized my work. She had secretly altered project status reports before executive meetings, making completed milestones appear unfinished while removing documentation showing I'd recommended safer timelines. Even worse. One email accidentally exposed everything. She'd sent it to the wrong distribution list. Instead of forwarding privately to her manager, she'd included the company's compliance archive. The message read, "Once Emily is gone, nobody will know these changes were hers. We can rebuild the narrative from there." Rebuild the narrative. Not improve the project. Not fix problems. Rewrite history. Compliance had archived the email automatically. Nobody noticed until investigators reviewed every communication after the project's collapse. The CEO folded his hands. "We owe you an apology." I looked around the room. Months earlier these same walls had watched me lose everything. Now, they waited for my answer. "We'd like you to return." I didn't respond immediately. The CEO continued. "Vice President of Strategic Operations. Double my previous salary. Signing bonus. Authority to rebuild the department. Direct reporting to the executive board. No intermediary managers." I almost laughed. 6 months earlier I supposedly wasn't competent enough to keep my job. Now they wanted me leading the division. Life has a strange sense of timing. I asked one question. What happened to Claire? The room became quiet. She resigned during the investigation. I nodded slowly. Not satisfaction. Just closure. I accepted the offer 1 week later. My first day back felt strangely peaceful. The same security guard who'd whispered, "I'm sorry," months earlier greeted me with a smile. "Welcome home." This time, I believed him. The project took nearly a year to repair. It wasn't easy. Trust rarely is. But one by one clients returned. Employees relaxed. Meetings became conversations again instead of crisis management. I made one promise during my first board meeting. No employee should ever lose a career because one voice speaks louder than the evidence. The board approved new review policies that afternoon. Independent documentation. Multiple evaluations. Transparent reporting. No more decisions based on office politics alone. Tonight it's nearly 3 in the morning again. The refrigerator light still paints the kitchen floor while fresh coffee steams beside me. Outside my suburban street rests in complete silence. Tomorrow I'll present our company's strongest annual results in a decade. Sometimes I think about that cardboard box. I kept it. It's folded neatly in the garage now. Not because I expect to use it again. Because it reminds me that losing one place doesn't mean losing your value. People can misunderstand your work. They can repeat lies. They can even show you the door. But competence has a quiet habit of revealing itself over time. As dawn slowly brightens the sky beyond my window, I gather my presentation and smile to myself. The company didn't invite me back because they felt guilty. They invited me back because the truth eventually accomplished what arguments never could. And I finally understand that my worth was never determined by the day I was fired. It was revealed by the day they realized exactly what they had lost. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories of resilience, justice, and new beginnings. Your support helps us continue sharing meaningful journeys that deserve to be heard. Thank you so much for watching, and we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.